Spanning Tree Protocol (STP). We use this STP. So this STP is by default available in Cisco switches, and it is enabled by default. And why we have this STP? It is for avoiding the loop, avoiding the broadcast storm which can happen in our layer 2 switches. Layer 2 switches, because they don't understand the IP address, and they do what? They do broadcast, because by default the switch is what? Single broadcast domain. If suppose I connect these three switches together, then they will still remain in the single broadcast domain. And if anyone sends a broadcast from anywhere, then it will reach to every machine, every other switch, and they will do broadcast. So sometime what happen, if we have a redundant link in our network, for example, if these three switches are connected directly with the single link and we don't have this redundant link here, then it will work okay. But as soon as you get the redundant link, that means we are having two links to reach each other, and that means the packet can go round and round. The packet, suppose the packet sent from switch 1 it will go to switch 2 and then switch 3, and from switch 3 it can come back to switch 1. And in this kind of situation, we can have a layer 3 loop, and when you have a loop, it can be a broadcast storm, and it can do what? The broadcast packet can travel in between these three switches for the infinity of time. So if suppose someone sends the broadcast packet, so it will go to switch 2, it will also do broadcast, switch 3 will also do broadcast, and then switch 1 will also do broadcast, and then all three will start doing broadcast, and then what happen? It will become the broadcast storm, and it happens when we have a switching loop. Now to avoid this situation, we have STP, and by default this STP protocol is enabled on Cisco switches. And it do what? It try to avoid this kind of situation by disabling the looping interface. Disabling the looping interface. And how it works? For this, it uses these kind of different terminologies we have. We have BPDU, root bridge, non-root bridge, port cost and path cost, and also root port and designated port, non-designated port, and forwarding and blocking port. These are the terminology for the spanning tree. So if you want to understand how the spanning tree work, what is the operation of a spanning tree, you have to know these are the terminology. So I will explain this terminology in brief first, and how the STP protocol works. So let me explain it in brief. So for example, we have these three switches, switch 1, switch 2, switch 3. Now when we connect them together, normally we don't use redundant link in a small network. A small network like this, where we have only three switches, we can go with the linear topology. We don't use this redundant link. But if we are having a big network where we have multiple switches, we have 10, 20 switches, and we want them to connect together, then what? We can use the redundant link, so that if one link goes down, then still our network can be connected by the other link. But when we have the redundant link, we can have a problem of broadcast storm, and we can have a problem of looping. So for avoiding that, STP is already there, and it will do what? It will block the looping port. Now how it works? So first, suppose when you connect the port to each other and to other switches, no matter you are connecting the port to other switch or other device, like suppose I am connecting the switch to some PC here, I am connecting this to some PC, still this port will do all those things, whatever it needs to be to protect the port from creating the loop. So for that, what all the ports will do of the switch, like all the switches we have, so all these switches do what? They have the different states of port, and it follows these different states, and it goes through with all these different states. So when you connect any device to your switch, Cisco switch, it will not directly enable it. it goes with these different states. There are different states to go. So the first state is blocking state, then it goes to listening state, then it goes to learning state, and then it goes to forwarding state. So these are different states of every port we have on the switch. Now first, when we connect any port, it will remain in blocking state. Now blocking state will do what? It will only accept BPDUs. Now what is BPDUs? BPDUs is the Bridge Protocol Data Unit. It's a small packet which contains the information about the switch. BPDU. It contains the information about the switch and its network topology and everything. So it has an information about the switch ID, basically the first information, and all the other information related to the network. So it has this information in this packet, and this packet, every switch do exchange these packets within 2 seconds. 2 seconds is the default timer for this BPDU to be exchanged. So it is exchanged on every port of the switch within 2 seconds. Now every port, that means it will send on this port also, and this port also, whether the switch, whether the other end there is switch or not. If suppose this end we have a PC, so PC will not respond with it. PC will not reply anything. It will only drop the BPDU packet. But if there is another switch connected to the port, then the other switch will also respond with the BPDU. Respond with a reply with its own BPDU. So they exchange their BPDUs, and they do it by using multicasting. Multicasting because they are not doing broadcasting, because they want to get the acknowledgement and reply. So they exchange BPDUs to each other in every 2 seconds. Now when the port is in blocking state, it will not send any BPDUs, but still it will listen the BPDUs. That means if the port is in blocking state, then it can accept any BPDUs coming from that port, but it will not send any BPDU to any other machine from that port. That is what the blocking state. Now in this state, whenever we connect any port to the switch, they will remain on this state. So first they will remain on this state for some time, and the time is 20 seconds. So first 20 seconds they will keep blocking the ports. Now next what they do, all the switches will go for listening mode. That means the port will go to listening state. Now in this state what they do, they exchange BPDUs. They start exchanging BPDUs. That means it will send the BPDUs also, and also it will receive the BPDUs. Why it do this? So that it can get information about the network and about the other switches also. So after blocking state, where it is only accepting the BPDUs, it is not sending any BPDUs, then it will go for the listening state, and it will start sending and receiving both. But till now there is no forwarding. That means if this PC is connected to switch, and if this PC tries to send any data, it will block. It will not send. The data will not be accepted by the switch. Why? Because the switch is in blocking state, now it is in listening state. Till now it will not accept any packet from the PC, from that port. From that port, if it is connected to PC or whether it is connected to other switch. So it will not accept any packet to forward. It will only accept BPDUs, and it will only send BPDUs. Now this listening state will remain for 15 seconds. It will remain for 15 seconds. After the 15 seconds, what they do, they will go for the learning state. Now the switch ports will go to the learning state. Now remember, we have connected these switches together, and maybe we are having one PC also here. We have other PCs also connected. So all the ports will remain on learning state for the next 15 minutes, 15 seconds. And what they do in learning state, in this state again they will exchange BPDUs with another switches so that they can get the information about the other switches and network. And in this state it will do what? It will start learning the MAC addresses also. So if we have other machines connected to the switch, so it will start learning the MAC address to create the CAM table and the MAC address table, because it has to forward the data for them. So it will start creating the MAC table in that state. But still it will not forward any data. It will remain this state for 15 seconds. So it will not forward any data. That means totally, if you see, totally 50 seconds the switch port will remain without sending any data. It will not send any data. It will remain like this. It will show amber color blinking on the light, LED light. Then after that it will go for forwarding state. Now when it goes to the forwarding state, then it will start forwarding the data, and the link, the LED light will become green, and that means you can send and receive the data also on that port. So this is the port state for every switch. So they do exchange BPDUs to inform about itself and get the information about the other switches, and they will do till this 50 seconds. Now how they use this, this is what the port status of STP. Now how they create this, how they detect the looping port and how they block this looping port. So for that, remember, they are exchanging these BPDUs. So with the help of these BPDUs, first they do what? When you connect, so first within 20 seconds they don't do anything, because they are not doing what? They are only blocking it. So they accept this, they don't do anything. But now after this, when they go to the listening state, they will start exchanging the BPDUs. And now in this state they will do what? They will do the election first, and election to select the root bridge. So they do election to select the root bridge, and root bridge they select by the help of the bridge ID or switch ID they are getting from BPDU. So the BPDU is sending, in the BPDUs, switch adds its own bridge ID. So with the help of bridge ID they will do the election to select the root bridge. Now what is the bridge ID? Bridge ID is the combination of bridge priority. It is the bridge priority we have. So the bridge priority, it is the bridge priority plus MAC address. MAC address of the switch. Now first it do what? First it will check the priority. For the election they check the bridge priority. So whoever the switch has the less bridge priority, that switch will win. Now the default bridge priority is 32,768. Now this is the default bridge priority for every Cisco switches. This is the default one. Now if any of these switch has less than this priority, then it will elected as a root bridge. But if it is not, if it is equal, like if all the switches have the default bridge priority and it is 32,768, so you have a tie here now. So when you have a tie with the bridge priority, then it will go for MAC address. It will go for MAC address. It will check the MAC address of all the switches. Now every switch sends its MAC address to each other. Now MAC address must be less than the other switch to be elected as a root bridge. So the root bridge, the switch will be selected as a root bridge only if it has a less MAC address than others. For example, here in this switch, the bridge ID is the same, 32768, bridge ID is same 32768, but the MAC address, now the MAC address will decide. It has BBBB, it has CCCC, and this one is having AA. Now when you go for hexadecimal numbers, so this A means 10. A is in binary 10. That means you have numbers from 1, 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and then you have A, B, C, D, E, F in hexadecimal. So after 9, A comes. So A is actually 10 and B is actually 11. C is actually 12. Now when you see these numbers, so which one is less than other? So we can say that the 10 is less than the other two. This is 11, this is 12, and this one is 10. So this switch 1 will win. Switch 1 will win the election because they all have the same bridge ID, bridge priority, but this one has a less MAC address. So this switch will win and this will become the root bridge. Now root bridge do what? Root bridge actually is there to define the network, like how the network will work, and all the switches, all the other switches will define the network, will work based on the perspective of this root bridge. So they will work based on the perspective of the root bridge, that how we can reach or how we can access the root bridge, and based on that they will do the decisions. So any topology changes happen, so basically it is informed to the root bridge, and root bridge will inform these changes to other switches. It is like in OSPF we have DR and non-DR routers. DR is designated router and it happens with the election, and election based on the router ID. Here it do the same thing, it selects the root bridge and based on the switch ID, bridge ID. And now when it selected the root bridge, so root bridge job is to update the topology, update the network changes. Now after selecting the root bridge, all the other switches will become non-root bridge. Non-root bridge, that means they will work as a normal switch. And now after selecting the root bridge, all the other switches will become non-root, and now they have to find a way to reach the root bridge. That means the shortest way or shortest path to reach the root bridge. So this is the root bridge now, and these other switches, switch 2 and switch 3, is now non-root bridge. Now they will do what? They will find a short way to reach the root bridge so that they can inform and they can get the information from the root bridge. So how they will do that? They will get the shortest path by the BPDUs sent by the root bridge. Now this root bridge send the BPDUs to all these other ports, like all the ports of root bridge will always be active, and it will send the BPDUs from all its ports. So it is sending the BPDU from this port also, and it is sending the BPDU from this port also. Now when the switch gets the BPDU, now this switch 2 will get the BPDU from this side, and also it will get it from this side also. That means it will get from here, and then it will come from the switch 3, and then it will come from the switch 2 also. So what this do, it will calculate the port cost, and based on the port cost it will calculate the path cost. Port cost is fixed and path cost is the combined cost of the path. So port costs are fixed. Port costs are like this. This is the port cost. We have old port cost, and we have new port cost also. Old was changed now. Now the switch does not use the old one. Switch use now new port cost. Why it does not use the old one? Because it is having a problem. Based on the speed, it has defined the cost. like how much fast the port is, the cost is less. So less cost, that means port is fast. Now when you have 10 Mbps, you have 100 cost in old value. Now old value has a problem, like 10 Mbps shows 100, 100 Mbps shows 10, and 1 Gbps shows 1, and 10 Gbps is also showing 1. This is the problem. That means 1 Gbps and 10 Gbps, it all both will go as a cost 1. So it will not differentiate between these two speeds. Otherwise, but in reality, these are different. 1 Gbps and 10 Gbps. 10 Gbps is more and far more faster than 1 Gbps. But the cost says same. And that is why we have now new cost. New cost says 10 Mbps is 100. Now 100 Mbps is 19. 1 Gbps is 4 and 10 Gbps is 2. That means if you have 1 Gbps, then it costs 4, and you have 10 Gbps, then it will cost 2. So we can differentiate between these. Now based on this cost, it will calculate the total cost for the path, and then it will become the path cost. So for example, all these ports are having 100 Mbps. So all the port cost will be 19. Now when the switch root bridge sends the BPDUs, so it will send with the port cost 0. It sends with the port cost 0. Now when it reaches to switch 2, so it will do what? It will add its own post cost. So this port here is 100 Mbps, so it will add the port cost here with that cost which is sent by the root bridge, and it will become 0 plus 19, and it will become 19. So if switch 2 wants to reach the root bridge, and if it takes this path, then it will cost 19. Now it will also get the port BPDU of the root bridge from this side, and again switch will add 0 here for the cost, and it will send to this switch. Now this switch also receive this on this port, so the switch 3 will do what? It will use 0 and it will add its own port cost there. And if it is in 100 Mbps, then again it will add 19 here, and for this switch, so for this switch it will cost 19 here to reach the root bridge. Now when it sends this BPDU to the switch here, this switch 2, then it will send 19. Now if reaches to switch 2, then what it do? It gets the 19 from switch 3, and it will add its own port cost. So this port is also 100 Mbps, so the switch 2 will add 19 again. Now total cost will be 19 plus 19 will be 38. Now if this switch 2 try to go to root bridge from this side, from this path, so it will be 38. This is the path cost. And if it try to go from this side, then it will cost 19. So path cost is 19. So which one is good? This one is good. So this one is good and this one is not good. And for switch 3, this is also same. If switch 3 goes from this side, it will cost 19. Path cost will be 19. And if it goes from this side, from this port, then it will be 38. So it will choose this port is the shortest path. It is having a shortest path to reach the root bridge. Now when it is decided that which port is having a shortest path, then what these switches do, switch 2 and switch 3 will do, they will configure this port as a root port. They will decide that this port will be our root port. Now whatever the other port remains, other ports, that means there is another port which is having more cost than this port, like this which has having 38, this port which is having 38 cost, and this for switch 3 it is also having 38 cost. Now remember, if it is connected to any other normal machine. So no BPDUs will be exchanged here. So there is no cost and no path and nothing. So these ports will remain only on forwarding states, normal forwarding states. But when these ports are having connected to root bridge, then if it is having a shortest path, then it will become root port, and all the other ports which is having a less cost than the more cost than the root port, these ports becomes the designated port. These ports will call designated port. Now for switch 2, this port is the designated port, and for switch 3, this port is the designated port. Now this designated port can create loop. So after deciding the root port, the switch will see what are the other designated port I have. Now after these all other designated port, maybe it can have other more than one designated port. So what then switch will decide that which designated port can create loop, and then it can decide to block that port. Now in this case, we have these ports as a root port, and for switch 2 we have this port as a designated port, and this is also designated port. Now the switch will decide that which port is creating the loop. So basically this is only one designated port, and it has received the BPDU of the root bridge from here. Remember, it checks that where did I get the BPDUs. So basically when it sends the BPDUs from here, so it loops back, the BPDU is looped back to this port, the same BPDU which this switch 3 sends on this port. So it get back from the other side. That means this port is creating loop. And for switch 2 also, the BPDU which it sends here, it loops back to this side on this port, and then by this switch 2 knows that this is the port which can create loop. Now they have to disable one of the port. They have to block this port. They have to block this port. Now where it will block? Switch 2 or switch 3. So if they are connected directly, then who will say, like, who will block the port? Switch 2 or switch 3. It can be blocked from this side or it can be blocked from this side. It cannot be blocked from both the sides. It can only block from the one side. Now why it is? Because if it is blocked on both the sides, then remember the state, blocking state, they will not exchange any BPDUs. That means, for example, if it is in this side, if it is blocked, now it will go to blocking state. And if this side is also saying block, that means what happened, if switch 2 is also blocking the port and switch 3 is also blocking the port, and the ports will go into blocking state, then what happened? In blocking state, they can only accept BPDUs, but they will not send any BPDUs. Now when they don't send any BPDUs, that means both switches will not have any BPDUs, because from this side it will not send, and from this side also it will not send. So if in case this port gets down, then this switch 3 has to enable this port. But how it will enable? Because there is no option coming from the other side. The no information for the port is coming from the other side, and no information is sending from this side. So they will remain in blocking state and they will not enable the port if both are in blocking state. So when the situation comes when two ports have in front each other and they have to block the port, one of the port, at the same time both the ports will not go to blocking state. Only one of the port will go for the blocking state. So if switch 3 and switch 2 has a port here which directly connected to each other, and they have to decide that which port has to be blocked, then they will do what? They will check their MAC addresses. they will first check their MAC addresses. So this MAC address of this switch 2 is what? B. That means we can say it is in binary 11. And switch 3 has a MAC address of C, that means in binary it is 12. Now which is less? So 11 is less than 12. So 11 will win, and this switch will remain the port in designated state. It will remain the port in designated, and this switch 3 loses the battle, and it will do what? It will disable its port. It will disable the port, and it will become blocking. It will become block port. It will go to the blocking state. And now the loop is not happening because they have blocked the looping port. Now in case if this port gets down, now this switch has to reach the other switches. So what it do here, because it is in designated state, so it can send the BPDU on this side, and this is in the blocking state, so it will accept the blocking BPDU, and in that BPU it is saying that I want to reach the other side, I am not having this connection now. So what this switch 3 will do, switch 3 will enable this port, and then both port will become designated, and your data will go again, start sending from here. So this is how this spanning tree works. Now in case suppose you have only two switches and you connect them together directly, like I connect them directly like this. Now remember, if you have a root bridge, suppose this switch becomes the root bridge. So root bridge, all the port will always be on designated port, because root bridge all port will always be enabled. Why? Because in forwarding state, and they will always be the designated port. Why? Because from any of the port, any other switch is trying to connect the root bridge. So from all the ports of the root bridge is have to be on the designated state and have to be on the forwarding state, so that anyone can connect the root bridge from the ports. So if you have two switches connected like this, it is not happen. But if it is if you do that, so this is the root bridge. Now this port and this port cannot be disabled. This port will remain on forwarding state in designated port. But remember, it is creating loop. So this switch has to disable the port now. So it has two ports here and this one. Now one of the port it has to be disabled, either this one or this one. Now how it will decide which port to be disabled? Remember here when we have two different switches, switch 2 and switch 3, so they decided based on the MAC address. But here we have single switch, and the switch has to decide that which port has to be blocked. And because the MAC address is same, now it will decide based on the port number. If suppose this port number is 1 and this port number is 2, so the port number 1 will win and port number 2 will be blocked. So basically when switch decides that which port should be blocked, so first they check the MAC address, and if the MAC address wins, then fine, and otherwise they will see the port number. So the less port number will win, and the port number which is maximum, it will block itself. So this is how this STP protocol works and try to prevent the loop. Now I will show you how it works in practical. So let's see in our packet tracer now. Now here in our packet tracer, what I will do, I will connect some devices here. One, I'm using these switches, 2, 3, let me add more. Okay, now I'm going to connect them together. So now you see these ports are not enabling, they are not showing a green light. they are still in amber color. Now why? Because of STP protocol. It is going through with all those other states, different states like blocking, listening, learning, and then it will go to forwarding state, and for that it will take almost 50 seconds. So still they are not enabled. Now you see slowly other ports are getting enabled, and the port which can create loop, it will be blocked. Now you see here all the ports are now running, but only those ports are which can create the loop, they are not running. From this side you see this port is not running, and on this switch this port is not running, and on this switch this port is not running. Other than that, other ports are in running state, in forwarding state. Now remember, if you have a root bridge, so all the ports of the root bridge will remain on designated port, and they will remain on forwarding state. Now if we see here and we can guess, and if we try to guess which port, which switch can be a root bridge, so we have to check that which switch has all the ports enabled. Now when we check, so whoever switch has all the ports enabled, maybe that will be the root bridge, but we cannot say it surely, so we can check by using the command. So I'll go to this switch first, and I'll go to the CMD here, and to check it I will run in a privilege mode show spanning tree command, and when I run this command it will show me the information about spanning tree. Now what it is saying here, it is showing here that the spanning tree is enabled, it is IEEE standard, and who is the root bridge? It is showing the root ID for the root bridge, that having the priority of 32769. I said the priority is 32768, but it is showing 769 here. Now one is coming from the system ID. The system ID extension is actually the VLAN ID. Now this is the MAC address of the root bridge, and this is the cost to reach the root bridge for this switch, and this is the port which is where it is connected. So basically the port number fast Ethernet 0/2 is connected to the root bridge, and this is the information about the BPDU 2 second, maximum aging for the blocking port is 20, and forward delay is 15 second. But this switch is not a root bridge. It is saying that it can reach the root bridge by using 19 cost. Now this is its own information. This switch is also having what? Priority number 32769, which is actually the combination of 32768 plus the system ID 1, and that is why it is what? 32769. And this is the MAC address of this switch. This is the other times, and the aging is 20. Now it has two ports here, 1 and 2, fast Ethernet 1 and 2, and you can see this one is on designated and forwarding state, but this one is the root port, and again it is in forwarding state. The cost is 90 to reach that port, and he is saying this switch can reach the root bridge by this port. Again it also shows here. So this is not a root bridge. This switch can reach the root bridge with this port. So it is connected to this port, and this is the root port, and the other port is what? Designated port, but it is not block. So which is 2? This one is 2. fast Ethernet 0/2, and it is connected to this switch. So this switch is actually the root bridge here in this topology. So when I check here, show spanning tree, so it shows here that the spanning tree protocol is enable IEEE standard. This is the priority and this is the MAC address. Now it is saying directly that this bridge is the root bridge. So this is the root bridge here, and the same information you see here also. This is the MAC address of root bridge, and this is the MAC address of this current switch, and both are same, and this is saying that this is the root bridge. And we can see here all the ports are in designated and forwarding state. Why? Because this switch is a root bridge. So this switch is our root bridge, and all the other ports, other switches are non-root bridge, and they have the blocking states. So if this switch, if you check, shows spanning tree, then we can see here it also shows that this is the root bridge information, and I can reach that root bridge by this port, fast Ethernet 0/4, and this is this switch information, and these are the different 4 ports it has, and these ports are 2 ports are in blocking state. Which ports? Fast Ethernet 0/1 and fast Ethernet 0/3. They are in blocking state. Now when they are in blocking state, they can consider as a alternate port. Alternate port, that means if the other port goes down, then they can take place of that other port. This port is in normal designated port, it is not creating loop, and this one is the root port. Other information we can check by running show spanning tree. We can see active, we can use active command to report an active interface only. That means only the interface which is active. We can check by this command, and it shows all the information about this. Then we can check the detail information. So it will show you the detail information about it. It will show you that what is the VLAN number, what is the spanning tree protocol, what is the priority of the bridge, hello timer, topology, hold down timer, aging timer, and all that. And then it will show you the port information also. Port 1, what is the information, port 2, what is the information, and then port 3, port 4, everything in detail. Then we can check inconsistency, inconsistent port. That means if suppose some port is not working properly, it is connecting, disconnecting, then it will show here. Right now we don't have these kind of ports here, so it is not showing anything, but if we have, it will show here. STP will detect that. We can check the interface information also. That means we can check the interface information if we want to check particular interface information. Like I want to check this interface information, so it shows only that information about that port. Then we can check the summary information also. We can see the summary information, or we can see the summary total information. Summary of what switch is in PV STP mode, what it is disable, enable, what is it disable, enable, how much VLANs we have, how much ports are blocking, how much ports are in forwarding state, whether some ports are in listening state or learning state or in forwarding state. So we can check all those things. So this is how we can verify the STP and how it is working. Now it is by default enabled, but if we like, then we can disable it. So if we want, then we can disable it, but disabling the STP protocol is very risky. It can block everything. For example, I will show you. Now I have these three switches and I have two machines here. This is 10.0.0.1 and this one is 10.0.0.2. I will do what? I will try to ping from this machine to other machine. So I will try to ping 10.0.0.1 from here and it is getting the reply. Now it is getting the reply because everything is working properly. There is no broadcast storm and loop is there. But if in case if I have disabled the STP here, then what happens? So I will disable the STP. It is by default enabled. We can check it. Now if we want to disable it or enable it, then we can go to the configuration mode and we can run spanning tree with the VLAN number. Now this command is to enable the spanning tree. Now if we want to disable it, so I will do what? I will add no before it. No spanning tree for VLAN 1. Now this will do what? It will disable the STP protocol from this switch. So if I run this command, it will disable the spanning tree. And now when you check show spanning tree, it says no spanning tree instances exist. So I disable it from one switch. Now still no problem we have because the other switches are still running the STP. Now I will disable it from this switch also. No spanning tree for VLAN 1. Now when I check show spanning tree, it is not running here also. Now still nothing is happening because we have one switch running STP. So what I will do, I will disable it from here also. So if I check show spanning tree, it is still showing it is running, but now I am going to disable it. So no spanning tree for VLAN 1, and now it is disabled from here also. Now what is happening here? Now when I check show spanning tree, there is no spanning tree here also. Now when you see here, all the ports are active now. There is no port is blocking. Now what happens if I go and open this machine and if I try to ping somebody, if I try to send any data, now it is getting the data. Now I will send broadcast. Now I have sent the broadcast packet. Why I did this? I sent the IP which is not there. So what happened? My machine sends the broadcast to get the MAC address. And what happened here? You can see all the ports are now blinking. Now blinking means there is a broadcast storm running now. That broadcast packet which I sent from this machine is now going everywhere and it is consuming the whole bandwidth, and you can see the ports are blinking like this, and it's a broadcast storm there. Why? Because there is the STP protocol I have disabled and nobody can do any communication now. If I try to connect this machine, this other machine, it will also not able to connect. It will also say timeout. Why? Because there is a broadcast storm. And you can see how these ports are blinking. They are blinking very fast. So this broadcast storm do what? It disable the whole, it makes the network down. It will disable the whole bandwidth. It will disable the whole network. So what I will do now, I will enable the STP Even if I enable it only one switch, it will do stop the broadcast. So I will go to config mode again and I will run command spanning tree for VLAN 1. Done. So I enable the spanning tree only on one switch, but it will still stop the broadcast. Now you can see it is now stop the broadcast because now these two ports are going into blocking states, and it will remain in the blocking state and it will listen for the other machines and DPDUs. And after that they will do what? They will start STP and they will decide the root port, designated port, and now you see they are in listening state. And then after that they will go for the learning state. Now they are in learning state. Then after that they will decide which is the designated port and which is the root port and which is the blocking port, and they will, now they are in forwarding state. Now in this switch we don't have any blocking port here, we have blocking port here in this switch. So this is how STP do, and I have not enabled it from here also, so I will enable this switch also. Spanning tree for VLAN 1. Listening state, and now it is blocking state. Then it goes to the learning state, and then it will go to the forwarding state. Learning, and then it will go to forwarding state. So this is what this spanning tree do, and do block the loop ports. Now if there is no spanning tree, then you can see that how much broadcast storm can happen, and it can block the whole network. Now one more thing, because all the ports of the switch goes through with all those states of STP. That means blocking states, like blocking state will remain for 20 seconds. Then listening state, it will remain for 15 seconds. Then learning state, it will remain for next 50 seconds. Then they will go for forwarding state. Then after, that means after total 50 seconds, your port will be on forwarding mode and it will go for forwarding. Otherwise you have to wait for it. That means now if suppose your port is here, in this case suppose there is switch 2 and switch 3 in this design, and we have this port is on blocking state and this port is not on blocking state, it is on designated port on alternate side. Now if we have disabled this link here and this port will get enabled, so how much time they will take to get enable again, go on to forwarding state? So because this one is still in blocking state, so it will took total 50 seconds, because it will go from blocking to 15, it will take blocking to listening, it will take 20 seconds, then listening to learning, it will take 15 seconds, then from learning to forwarding, it will take 15 seconds. Now this port is not in blocking state, so it will take only 30 seconds. It will take only 30 seconds. That means it will go to listening, then learning, and then directly go to the forwarding states. Now still 30 seconds is long time. Now if suppose I have connected this switch, I have a single switch, I don't have a big network, I don't have this, I have only 20 machines, and I want to connect these machines to the switch. Now when I do this, what happened? It will still work, the STP will still work. So when you connect these machines here on the normal network, normal single switch, so these ports will not get active until the 50 seconds, because the STP by default is running, and it will do what? It will work, and these ports will go through all those states. So suppose there is a DHCP server connected here in this port. I don't want to disable STP. Now there is a DHCP server connected to this port here, or this DHCP server's job is to assign IP address to these machines. Now when this switch get on, then what happen? All the ports will get into the blocking state. Now blocking state, that means DHCP is wanted to give IP address, and these machines wanted to get IP address, but they will not reach the DHCP server. Why? Because they have to wait for 50 seconds. Now what these machines do, if they are not able to reach within 50 reach the DHCP server, then what they do, they will assign their own IP to itself, like they will use APIPA IP. They will do timeout and they will use the APIPA IP now, and they will not ask the DHCP server for IP. So what happened? This DHCP server is not able to give IP address to these machines because of the switch, because the switch ports are not getting active before 50 seconds, and these machines are getting timeout from DHCP request, and they will do what? They will assign their own IP. Now what sometimes happens, sometimes we have a problem that when they go to the APIPA, when they go for APIPA, then they will not connect to other machines. So for that kind of reason, what we can do, we can put the port which is connected to some kind of server or some kind of important machine. So instead of disabling the STP, we can make this port as a port fast. We can enable this port, we can configure this port as a port fast. So port fast will do what? It will skip the STP states. So when we configure any port of the switch as a port fast, then it will do what? It will skip the process of STP, and it will directly goes to forwarding mode. It will directly go for the forwarding state. So it will quickly, port will be enabled. Now this will be risk. This can be a risk because it is not taking part of STP states. So if suppose I remove DHCP server from here and I connect another switch from here, then what happens? Because it is not going through all those states, it can create loop. So this is what risky. So when you put the port on port fast, we should also enable the BPDU guard. BPDU guard feature on that port. That BPDU guard feature do what? It will guard the BPDU. So if it sees the BPDU coming from that port, so if you connect the switch into another switch, the port to another switch, and it will receive any BPDU from that side, then it will do what? It will change the state, and it will start taking into STP. Now I will show you how it works. Now you see I have one switch here and two machines. Now see what happens when I connect the ports. So I will go here and connect one machine, and then I am connecting the other machine. Now you see what is happening here. On the PC side it is active, but on the switch side it is not active. It is going through with all these state of ports. It is going through blocking state, listening, learning, and then it will go to forwarding state. So we have to wait for the 50 seconds to get these ports enabled. If we don't want that some port should enable quickly, now it is getting enabled here, and then it will get enabled also here. So this port is enabled after all the states of STP. Now if I want some of the port should enable quickly and skip the states of STP, then we can configure that port as a port fast. For example, I will configure this fast Ethernet 0/2 as a port fast. So what I will do here, I will disconnect first this port 2 again. Now I will go to the switch and I will go to that port first. So interface fast Ethernet 0/2. This port I want to configure as a port fast. So I will give command spanning tree, and we have a command port fast. So spanning tree port fast. We can enable or disable. Now if I press enter directly, then it will enable the port fast. Now again, if you are using this port for trunk, so enable port fast on the interface even in trunk mode. We can enable it even in trunk mode also, and if you are using it on trunk mode, then you have to enable it by using trunk command. Otherwise it will not be enabled. So I'm not using it as a trunk, so I will just press enter. And when you press enter, it will give you the warning for that trunk also, that it says the port fast should only be enabled on the port connected to a single host. Connecting hub, concentrator, switches, bridges, etc. to this interface when port fast is enabled can be caused temporarily bridge loops. So we use with caution, because it can create loop because it is bypassing the states of STP. So it should not connect to other switches or bridges. Then again, port fast has been configured on this port, but will only have an effect when the interface is in a non-trunking mode. Now why it is saying non-trunking mode? Because we have not selected this trunk command. So if you want to use it on trunk mode, then the port fast will not work. So if you want to use it with trunk, then you have to give this command with trunk. Now because I have enabled the port fast, I should also guard the BPDU. So I will also give this command BPDU guard. That will do what? Don't accept the BPDUs on this interface. So it will not do any BPDU thing and will not do looping. So I will also use BPDU guard enable. So when you enable the port fast, you should also enable this BPDU guard. And also you can do what here you can do, change the cost for the port, you can change the link type also. Now what I will do here, I will connect the two machines again, and now you will see how quickly the port will enable. So I will go to this. First I will connect this one which is not having a port fast. Now you see it is still waiting for that states. Now I will connect this port. Now this port I have enabled the port fast. Now you see how quickly it will get enabled. As soon as I connect, it is enabled now. And this one which I connected first, still it is waiting. Why? Because I have not enabled port fast on this port. I have enabled the port fast on this port. So it reduces the conversions time by skipping those states of STP, port states. Those states like blocking, listening, learning, and then forwarding. So by skipping those steps, those states, port fast do what? It will enable this port quickly, and this DHCP will act first and will assign IP address to other machines first. This is the port fast configuration. Now this root bridge is selected based on what? First it checks the bridge priority and then it checks the MAC address. So basically bridge priority is same for every switch. So basically the decision is taken by the MAC address. So sometime what happens, this can be a problem sometimes. Suppose we have an old switch in our network and that is having only 10 Mbps speed ports, but this is the old switch, so it has a MAC address which is older than these new switches. These new switches has the latest MAC address. For example, this one is created first, old one, so it gets the MAC address A. So these new switches will get the MAC address after that switch, A, B, C, or maybe this one is D. So whenever the election happens, because the bridge priority is same for all the switches, this old switch will always win. And these switches, new switches, are what 1 Gbps, having a speed of 1 Gbps, but this one is only 10 Gbps, 10 Mbps. But this is a root bridge, so everyone will go to this root bridge for update, and they can go with 1 Gbps speed, and this can respond only on 10 Mbps speed. Then it can create a bottleneck and it can slow your network. So you want to have a control in the election, like you want to have a control that which bridge or which switch should be the root bridge. Then you can do what? You can manipulate the election by changing the bridge ID. By changing the bridge ID, bridge priority, we can do what? We can manipulate the election process. So we can select who will become the root bridge. So for example, in this design, what we have here, this bridge as a root bridge. If we check this bridge, if we check this switch and we do show spanning tree command, so it says that this is the root bridge. Now how it is selected? By the help of this bridge priority and the MAC address. So because all the other switches are having the same bridge priority, but it is having the less MAC address than other switches, it has 1 and it has become the root bridge. Now I want to manipulate the election. I want to make some other switch a root bridge. For example, I want to make this switch as a root bridge. So what I can do, I cannot change the MAC address, but I can change the bridge priority number, and I can reduce the number to win the election. So how I will do that? I will go to this switch which I want to make the root bridge, and then I will go to config mode. Now it is not a root bridge. This one is having this MAC address, you can see, and this root bridge is actually having this MAC address which is less than this. As we can see here, it is having 00A and this one is having 000. So this one is a less MAC address than this, so always this one has 1. So I want to manipulate this. So what I will do, I will reduce this number, priority number. So how I will do this? I will go to the config mode. I will go to the config mode and then I will give a command spanning tree VLAN, then mention the VLAN number. Then here we have two commands. We can directly select this as a root, configure the switch as a root directly, or otherwise we can do manipulate by using the priority number. So we can change the priority number by manually to all the switches. Manually change, like one I will give other, then I will give the less number than other switches which I want to make a root bridge. And if I feel like this switch is off, then I feel like some other should become the root bridge. So manually I will change the number of that bridge also, so that it can become the second in place. So we can use the priority command, or we can directly configure this as a root bridge. If you configure directly as a root, then you can configure this root and you can configure primary or secondary. You can use this command also to make the switch as a primary. So primary, that means directly it will become root bridge, and we can choose any other switch to be a secondary. So if the primary goes down, then the secondary will take place. So we can decide that, or otherwise we can configure it based on the priority. We can configure the priority number. We can give any number from 0 to 61,440, but we cannot give any number from there. Like we cannot use, like I can say I cannot use like 100. I cannot use like this, because it always increments of 4096. That means you can give either 0 or 4096, or increment of 4096 is 8192 or 12288 or 16384 or 2480, and like this. So I cannot give like 100 or 200 or 300. So I will give this. Now as soon as I give this command, you will see here the election will take place again, and this port will get active again. Why? Because the root bridge, all ports must be active. So they will do the election again, and it will enable this port. Now this switch will change root bridge, and this switch will become root bridge again. Now when I check this show spanning tree, then you can see the priority for the spanning tree switch is this. I have changed, and this one now and this bridge is root bridge because I changed the bridge priority, and this is the priority for this bridge. So you can manipulate the election by changing the bridge priority, and you can make your own switch which you want to have as a root bridge. So now this bridge is the root bridge, and this is not a root bridge. Previously this switch was the root bridge, now this one has become the root bridge. So we can change this, and we can manipulate the election also to make some switch as a root bridge, and we can take the control. So this is spanning tree we have, why we have, and how it works, and how we can manipulate some configurations. We have seen all this, and this is what spanning tree protocol.